fantasy, sports, coaches. Welcome back to another episode of GameDay Squad's Aussie Rules Show. This is for round 2. Myself and Cal will be taking you through a fantasy breakdown for the round that just was and looking into the round that's about to be. Cal, are you ready to talk some fantasy footy and look ahead into round 2?
Mate, I'm always ready. I'm always ready to talk fantasy footy. You know me. Fantasy footy, fantasy cricket, whatever it is, I'm here for it.
Love it, love it. Well, saying as you're here for it, you know why you need to stay around? Stick around for this episode to see my player that I'm crying for help for as I desperately need them to step up.
I wonder if it's the same player I've got, because he might be crying by the time I'm done with him. So I'm looking forward. I'm keen to see if that is the same player as you. Interesting. Well, after that, we got the Fremantle's Dockers takeover. I wonder what that's all about. But you know what? Let's not give away too much. I think we just get into this episode, Cal. Let's talk about the round that just was for a little bit. Let's do a quick preview. And Cal, I heard you had a really good round this week. Is that right, mate? Oh, I thought I had an okay one until I spoke to you Sunday
afternoon. Not good enough to beat me, though. And sorry to cut you off. Your boy has got a new nickname, Cal. I actually want you to start referring to me as 2-0 because I'm 2-0 against you for the season. And we'll see how high that can go to start off the year. Let's go. I might, pop in. I can tell you're burning inside. What needs to be said?
Well, I wanted, before we get into the weekly performances, I wanted to just talk through a bit of the round, because funny you said 2-0. I've got down in my highlights for the round, I've got Tim English, 4th, meaning Marshall is 1-0 against him for the year. I had someone DM me, told me to keep track of that one. I just thought I'd let you know about that one. But it is good that footy was back. It was good Port got to play. I was sick. Not only do I have to hear your 2-0 rubbish, I went over to breakfast with my family on Saturday morning, and both their teams, their Swans and Carlton, were both 2-0, and Port even hadn't even kicked the footy yet. So that was a bit tough to sit down and hear them carrying on, and this year's our year, and I hadn't even seen the boys run out. But it's good. It was good. I didn't have Sarong, so it's kind of been that high of a highlight for me this week. But yeah, well, I'm sure we'll touch on him a little bit later because he was pretty good. And yeah.
Yes, well, let's get into it, Cal. This week, I'm going to lead us off for our review. I've got my top 3 here. My top 3, 150 GameDay Squad fantasy points to Luke Ryan, and what a monster performance he had. He was just exceptional for Freo. That was a tight game. That was a game where I don't think many people would have tipped the Freo, to beat the Lions, but guess what? Players like Luke Ryan, players like Caleb Sarong, that you hinted at before, Cal, were the reason why they got over the top. My second player, Isaac Heaney, 143 GameDay Squad fantasy points for the round, mate. He has started this season on bloody fire, and as a Swans fan, there's nothing more I love to see. My third player, and not in order, but Tommy Green from GWS Giants, 159 GameDay Squad fantasy points. As you hinted at before, Cal, would have loved to have Caleb Sarong in that list, but I didn't start him, so I can't have him in there. I finished with 2,816 fantasy points for the week. That had me ranked as 39, or for the season, 33rd overall. But you know what, Cal? Do you know the reason why I didn't do well this round? I'm going to tell you. It's my bottom 3 players. Brodie Grundy, 69 fantasy points. I thought he had back-to-back rivalry games. I was all in on the Grundy trade, and he did not deliver for me this week. That was upsetting. Shai Bolton, 74 fantasy points. Mate, he spent a lot of time in the midfield. That analysis I did in the preseason seemed to be right, but he can't get his hands on the footy, so there's no point being in the midfield if he can't touch it. And then Jaden Short, 90 fantasy points. And yeah, look, he didn't play horribly, just didn't play well enough. I nearly threw myself in here, Cal, because what I didn't, and what I haven't told you yet, is I made some massive mistakes on the weekend. The first one being, and I'm going to come, this is sort of a confessional for me, all right? Number 1 mistake is that I had Nick Newman into my defense before the live show started, and I subbed him out right before we started for Jaden Short, which I lost about, I think, a net negative 30 fantasy points there or something. But then I did something even worse, is that after the live show, I got inside my own head. And this is something, this is why I nearly threw myself under, because I've gone, you know what, Zach Merritt's going to get tagged out of this game. So I've subbed Zach Merritt out of my defender 6 spot and put in Took Miller for the round because I thought the Suns had a good matchup. I should have put in either Matty Rao or just kept Zach Merritt in there because he went crazy. So, mate, not to take up the whole spotlight and ramble on too much about my team, but that's how my week went. We went well, but God, I muffed it, mate. I could have done so much better. So that's a shame.
I'm glad because I watched the Richmond game with you, as everyone who was watching the live stream saw. I thought I got inside your head there, trying to psych you out after Harry Mackay went ballistic and you had Bolton and Short both play stinkers and Martin as well. So, yeah, no, I like that. I had Grundy in my bottom as well. Couldn't find a way for Heaney in my top, but I've got a few other boys I'll touch on. But no, I like that list. I thought you did quite well there. I'll get into my top 3. So I actually put mine in order. I decided as I was writing them out, I'm like, nah, you know what? I'm going to put them in order. So number 3, Rosie. Why? Yep. Because I've got the prize card with him for him. I talked about that. I go as he goes. And it was so good to see that he kicked 2 goals and had 27 touches. So if I'm going to get that Connor Rosie every week, you're not going to beat me every week. So I'm excited about that. Big Harry Mackay. It's number 2 for me. He didn't score the second most points, but it was a bit of a risk. I played him 3 goals. And you know what I loved as well? 7 tackles, which for the big boys, you absolutely love. And my number 1 player for the week, Harry Sheezel, another one. I played an all-star Harry Sheezel card. They're my 2 big cards I've got. And again, similar sort of boat as Connor Rosie. I'm like, was it last year a bit of a fluke? Is he really going to be that good? Yes. 33 touches and 9 marks. So he did awesome for me. Once again, 145 points. My 3 duds, or my 3 bottom, I'll give you really quickly. Benny Keys, 72 points. Gross. That didn't pay off. Grundy, 69, like I told you. And Sicily, who I'm going to roll this into our next segment, because not only is he the number 1, but like my worst player for the week with 11 touches and nothing else, he wins dud of the week by an absolute mile. This guy scored 40 points, got himself suspended. Just one of the most ridiculous performances I've ever seen. I couldn't be happier when that game was off because it was just hurting me to watch. So he, as you know, when the weeks you beat me, or whoever comes second in the week out of us has to pick the dud of the week out of the whole competition. Sicily wins it this week.
Mate, James, first of all, your top 3 list, fantastic. Great players there. And then, again, Sicily, dud of the week. I think it's totally deserved. And one thing you would have noticed, Cows, I actually didn't start Sicily this week. I had some suspicions about how he was going to start this season. And like Nick Newman, wanted to see it for myself. Now, that was a horrible decision for Nick Newman. It was a great decision for James Sicily. So at least I got something in regards to that. But I wanted to remind you all that GameDay Squad is on our way to 2,000 YouTube subscribers. And if you haven't already, help some brothers out. Subscribe to the channel to make sure we're giving you nothing but the best fantasy content all season long. But anyway, I'm going to cover my start of the week because as Cal touched on, my new nickname is 2-0. I've started the year 2-0, 2 studs for me, and my start is going to none other than Fremantle's young gun, Caleb Sarong. 184 fantasy points, stock standard on your bronze, redonkulous, 21 kicks, 25 handballs, 6 marks, 7 tackles, and got the win, which I think was the most impressive part of the entire game. For fantasy coaches and the Dockers, what a bloody performance from your young gun and Caleb Sarong. He is truly a special player.
A special player he was. I was sitting down, I was watching that game, and I'm like, you know what? Dude, how many Sarongs do I actually own? So I went digging. The only card I have is a platinum Sarong. So he would that would have netted you 240 points, which is just absurd. So if we'll touch on it, we'll talk about our transfer market segment in a little bit, but as it stands right now, if I wanted to get Sarong into my side for next week, the only way to do that would be that through that platinum card. So yeah, can't wait to touch on that in a little bit later.
I'm interested to hear. Sounds like you might have a bit of a strategy up your sleeve. That'll be exciting to talk about. But Cal, you know what we do from here is we pick a category for ourselves and we give an award out to a player. I'll start it off this week, mate. The category I'm going to do is the Do It For Me award. And this is the player that I touched on in the introduction. This is the player I'm crying about. Come on, man. And I don't think it's going to be a surprise to anyone who, first of all, watched my forwards rankings video, and anyone that's come over to the lives. It's Shy Bolton. And this hurts me. It pains me. And we need to clear this up, Shy, before this gets out of hand, all right? I had all my faith in you. And look, I know you were undermanned due to injuries. I know it was a tough day out in the office, but I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt because, the team look exhausted. I can't lie. You were down to your last sub. There's not much you could have done. You were plugged into the midfield. You didn't have a rotation. I understand. But from this week onwards, I need you to dig deep. I need you to think about all the coaches that are in your corner, like me this season. When the going gets tough, dig deeper. Go get me that extra kick. Go get that extra tackle because I'm going to need it in my forward line this year. And that's it. Cal, that's my rant over. Shy Bolton, the player that I need, just do it for me. That's what I need. Do it for me award. All right, Shy? Me and you.
I wonder if you're going to get a call from Adam Uze asking you to come down to training. Give him a bit of a rev up. You could be Shea Bolton's personal coach in his corner after every session. Good job, mate. Good job. I love it. I love it. My special award, I've gone with it's a traditional one over in the States with the NFL. It's the Comeback Player of the Year award, and I'm going early. But Clayton Oliver, holy dooly, that guy is back. 137 points, 20, can't read my writing, something kicks here, and 14 handballs. He was massive. Absolutely massive. Beasting. I always talk about Bontempelli being the best player in the competition. He was running circles around him. I always hate not having to choose between him and Petrarca, and last year when they were both up and running at the start of the year, it was a tough decision. At the moment, it's easy. Oliver looked like the best player on the park by an absolute mile. And that includes a field that had Tim English running around it, can I just add? So, yeah, Comeback Player of the Year. Yes, it's only round one. Yes, it's very, very early, but I don't want to call him a lock, but it's pretty close. It's pretty close.
Blasphemous. Can't believe you're talking about Tim English when you're gassing up Clayton Oliver. Mate, get a grip, Cal. You're just grabbing at straws right now, but I understand. Clayton Oliver, wow. Comeback Player of the Year. I actually really like that. That's, it's pretty bang on. It's pretty bang on. But Cal, let's get this moving. Let's get this show on the road. Let's give everyone the information they need to know to move forward this season. And we're firstly going to start with our transfer market targets. Cal, I'm going to start it off this week, mate. I had Nick Newman down for last week, firstly, ladies and gentlemen. Mm-hmm. So look how that's turned out. So make sure that you're taking some notes, at least when I talk. Hey, we already touched on that. But I said Nick Newman for everyone at home watching this.
It's the transfer market segment, not the analysis section. So I want to hear players that you targeted and you delivered on, or you couldn't get for some reason. I don't want to hear that.
I did deliver on
him.
that take.
So you got him?
I told everyone to go get him last week on this exact segment, Cal.
But did you go get him?
Yes, but I benched him. But I still got him. Anyway, let's move it on. My first player this week is going to be Luke Ryan. And if you saw his game this weekend, it was everything that Hef and I spoke about in the preseason. And if you haven't checked out that video for our defender rankings, definitely make sure you go check it out. But uncontested possessions in the back half of play, kick in central, a couple of frees won, intercept marks. I just know that as a floor score for this year, Ryan is going to be a money play. And, it's just the role that he has and the expectation that he's going to need to fulfill for Freo week in and week out. I just think this season, 2024, has All-Star written all over it. He made the All-Star squad in 2023. 2024, I see much of the same for this gun defender. He's 28, so he's not a dynasty stud, but I'll tell you what, he's a player that you're going to need for at least the next couple of seasons. And if you don't have a Luke Ryan, do yourself a favour. Go to the transfer market. Get one of any tier. If you get a bronze in your collector squad, sub him in. Just make sure you have one. Don't be that coach that goes into these rounds without a Luke Ryan in your defending group.
But which one are you targeting, though? I want to know. Give the people the advice. You're brand new to GameDay Squad. What Luke Ryan card would you be targeting in the Classic competition? Because in the Champion competition, it's obviously the best card you can get your hands on. What are you doing in the Classic?
For sure. I'm going to go, and I'll give you a spoiler, look, it depends on the setup of your team always, Cal. I know you like for me to be specific, but it really does matter what your current situation is, but ideally a silver. I think that if you could plug in any Luke Ryan into your team, I just think the fantasy points that he's going to get and the salary cap that you're going to spend on a silver is a worthwhile investment. So that's ideal. But of course, if you've got heaps of salary cap to spend and you want to go get that one player to players like your captain player, it's not a bad option as a gold as well.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Always just like keeping you accountable, that's all.
Nice, mate. But Cal, how about yourself? Why don't you get into your transfer market target for this week? I want to know who you're targeting.
I actually caught a bit of an audible this morning when I was doing up my notes. So I'm actually going to throw back to you because I've got something different planned. Because I haven't just got targets.
Okay.
I've got what I've actually done and what I'm actually doing. So I want you to give me who your second target is, and I'll tell the people what I actually did and if I delivered on my promise of what I said last time.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. My second one, funnily enough, it's from the same team, from the same position. It's going to be Jordan Clarke. And why? I just think it's a player you need to target now before everyone starts catching on, essentially. Clarke looked fantastic, first of all, in round one. I had him as a top 15 defender for the season so far, but honestly, I could see him climbing further than that with the downfall of some players throughout the early part of this season, like Sicily. Let's not get into it too much. Let's not harp on him, the sick dog, but you know what happened. He just didn't play too well. Clarke looked bloody fantastic, though. But I know what you're thinking. Tom, don't overreact. It's only round one. There's still time left. But I just think a player like Clarke, you just need to be targeting now before everyone catches on to his potential. I wouldn't be plugging Clarke into your lineup as a set and forget player or as like a must start. But I do think, firstly, he's a great pot option if you're going into your weeks and you want to play a point of difference player that other coaches probably won't be starting. And most certainly, he's a great dynasty option and is a card you most definitely want for the future. Let's get that straight. So Jordan Clarke is a player I think you should be targeting for your squads. And saying that, I think bronze is perfect for that. If you're going to go target one, I think go get yourself a bronze Jordan Clarke. He's just going to be money in your lineup. So if you are going to play him as a pod, you're not using too much salary cap, but you're still going to get that great score that he's going to output week in and week out. But Cal, mate, I'm going to throw it over to you because I'm so excited to hear what you've done here. You're changing it up.
Well, before you do that,
already.
I want to talk about
two.
Clarke. Yeah, I'm changing it up. I need to early. No, just with Clarke, I just kept confusing him for Brayshaw. I don't know about you around the ball, the 6 and the 8. Just when they're bending over, I just couldn't quite see like the circle. I kept thinking. Anyway, I'm just like, geez, Brayshaw is that touch because I obviously played him, but no, it was Clarke stealing them all. You can get a Clarke gold for 80 cents, and you can get a platinum for $1.50. So
wow.
I was also having a look at that on the weekend. So yeah, not a bad idea there. What have I done? I told you last week that I wanted to get a platinum Nick Dacos, and I started selling some players. So I did. I cleared house. I want to tell everyone what I did, what the activity I got up to. I sold a Gorn, a Zorko, and a Jakey Lloyd, silvers and golds for $8. I combined, and I sold a Bontempelli gold for $5. So I needed to get up to 17.5 to get that Nick Dacos. By the time I got my account up to about $14, the cheapest Nick Dacos was now $20. So I've gone, that's terrible. I'm going to have to go through this another week. And I came up, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to sit there. I'm going to figure out who I can sell. At this time, Tom Green was going ballistic, and I realised I didn't have a Tom Green. I think I sent you a text message hoping that you weren't playing him. Unfortunately, got the text back telling me that you were indeed playing him. And it was at that moment I went, nah, stuff this. I'm going out. And I went and bought myself a Tom Green Platinum for $6, which I thought was a really good bargain because you could be playing some good Platinums in the middle. I wonder if we're going to see him next week. So quickly, I just want to talk about someone else. So I said that I didn't have Sarong. Gold is $6.50 at the moment, and the silver's $3.50. Now we've just had the Indian cricket launch, so that's taken a few dollars from my account that I was planning to spend on my team. But I reckon that's going to be the next target I go to do it. But I want your help, and I want everyone to let me know. Follow along with this one as we play. I'm going to call this a segment. I'm going to call it Clearinghouse. Really quickly, 60 seconds. Hopefully you can work your magic and clip this up nicely. I'm going to give you 4 players, and in one sentence, I want you to tell me if it's worth clearing the house of these players. Now, it could be because they're done, you're sick of them. It could be because it's a great sell high opportunity. It could be because whatever you want. So it doesn't necessarily just have to be like, no, they're gone, don't sell them. Because if you think there's a good time to sell them, potentially you're doing that. Keeping in mind, you'd be selling, trying to help me get a Nick Dacos or an upgraded Sarong or a downgraded Sarong. depending on which one. Yeah, like I said that before, the platinum. So, you ready? First player, we got 4 of them. You ready to go?
Yeah, I'm ready to go, mate. Hit me.
All right, clearinghouse. What are you doing with these players? Number 1, Sam Doherty.
He just did his ACL.
What are you doing?
I'm selling. I'm selling Sam Doherty. I've got some concerns. Him coming back with his ACL. He's a little bit older. He's a midfielder as well. So presumably he's going to maintain his midfield status for 2025. So, massive pot option. But I think there's plenty of other players that you want to play instead. So if you got Sam Doherty, I'd be selling.
It's a long first sentence. I like it. Let's get these shorter and sharper. Number 2, Isaac Heaney.
Sell high for sure. Taylor Adams coming back. Couple injuries to the squad. Callum Mills as well. Going to be less midfield time. Probably play more as a full forward.
James Sicily.
Oh, try to sell. But in all honesty, I don't know how many people are going to look at that performance and want to buy. Maybe hang on and wait for a good performance and then try to sell high on that. So that.
And my last one for you, Lockie Whitfield.
Keep. If you want to be competitive in GameDay Squad in 2024, you need a Lockie Whitfield in your defending group. So make sure you have one and don't sell house.
There you go, like it. So I'm going to try and fleece the Dohertys without an ACL and my Isaac Heaney's. I was interested to see how you go with that one because he has started off so hot. But if I could turn a very hot Isaac Heaney into a Sarong or a Dacos, I could be very
Sicily. I like that for your squad. You should be doing that. Yeah.
I should be just turning all my players into Sicilies and then just none of them will play because they're always suspended.
Please, for me, yeah, that'd be great. Might go 24-0 by the end of the year. That's the case. But Cow, mate, that was a bit of fun. I like that. Put me on the spot big time, but I'll try to be a bit quicker, shorter and sharper for you next time. We'll sharpen our swords as we go on throughout this season and get.
We won't always need a clearinghouse. Yeah, won't always need you to be short and sharp, but sometimes I'll just look down and be like, you know what? I've got to make some decisions and you'll be the man for it.
Alrighty, mate. But, mate, speaking of the man for it, our next segment, you are the man for it. This is going to be our matchup matrix with our boy Cow, mate. Take it away for this week, mate. What have you got for everyone?
Well, it was crunching some numbers, as I do. And I've come up with one thing this week. So normally I'm going to be trying to do 3 things, or I'm not going to try and force it, but trying to find opportunities about good team groups coming up against very bad team groups in other positions. So with some teams only playing one game, it's a bit hard. Who's going to sit here, for example, and say, "Hey, Port Adelaide's the highest scoring midfield in the comp." Yeah, you know what? You play West Coast every week. Probably would be that. So wanted to try and look past it, and look back at last year. And last year, West Coast were absolute witches' hats. And to be honest, they looked competitive for the first 20 minutes. I got a text message from you asking me if I'd be coming onto the pod if Port lost. I guess you never know. But they were also witches' hats this last year. And 18th to start it. And they're coming up this week against the Giants. So my tip this week, or what the numbers are saying, are the Giants mids are going to eat. Now, they're 7th currently after the first 2 games, but they're only a few points average off Port, so it is really, really close. So I think Tom Green is going to be a lock for anyone that plays this week. But does anyone look at these 2 guys in particular, Cornelio and Kelly? Both scored over 115 last week. Cornelio's CBAs are at 85% and Kelly's were over 50%. So does anyone think that this week against the West Coast is a matchup for those players? If you do, I was going to say, if you're ever going to play those players in your squad, I think this is the week for it. So yeah, that's what the numbers are telling us this week. Play your midfielders against West Coast. Your Giants midfielders against West Coast.
Interesting. I can't say when I was building my round 2 squad that I looked towards Cornelio and Kelly, but maybe I'll have a double check. I'll rethink. I'll have a look at some matchups. So that is very interesting and good that you crunch the numbers for me because it means I don't have to go away and do it after this. So thank you for that, Cal. Mate, we love that. But Cal, mate, it's time for school.
Oh, yeah.
It's time for everyone to go back to school and join me, the professor, in our next lesson for the season.
Now I can't see the slides here. I was just going to say, before you get on your little preamble, I can't see the slides here at the moment, but I have seen what's happened in the last week, and I've been stitched up here. Shout out to our marketing team for putting that little doozy together. Or I don't know how much it was you just sitting there grinding the midnight oil, getting that together. But sorry, Professor, I'll shut up. You can continue.
Yeah, that's a detention as well, by the way. Anyway, we'll get to that later. But I was checking everyone's homework, and I must say, I was very impressed after the first week. But it is early in the season, and I know how grades can go as the semester drops off. So let's stay locked in together and keep smashing it out. And after the roll being marked, we're ready for school. Now, my highlight player for this lesson is going to be Tommy Stewart. Now, Tom Stewart looked great over the weekend. He finished with 104 fantasy points, a stat line of 17 kicks, 6 marks, and, that helped him along the way of getting to that score. But eye test. He looks silky, he looks smooth, but in a year where defenders are stacked, that's my question. Let's look at his early season report card, and let's go from there and have a discussion. Skills. I give him an A. A for skills. Look fantastic, as I mentioned. I don't think there's anyone's going to deny that. Fitness, B+. Tommy Stewart's always been known to be a fit man in that defending group, and guess what? No different this year. B+ for fitness. Disappointment, B-. 104 fantasy points. You look at all the defenders, what you need to score. You're not...
Hey, Sicily would be rolling over to get that score right now.
Oh, mate, he's lucky he's not in here, because that would be an E. It'd be just completely... I don't even know. Expelled from the school.
He's been asked to leave before the final exams to not bring the school average down. That's what Sicily's been done to.
Exactly. So disappointment B-, and I think that's fair. Not too harsh, but as well, not exactly what you want. The midfield time that we were speculating over this preseason, that's a D. I didn't see him in the midfield very often. Tommy Stewart. People were talking about him having
zero CBAs.
Exactly. The deceit from Geelong, A+. Well done.
Oh.
Tricked us all. Had us all fooled. Everyone's going Tommy Stewart stocks. Let's go. This is the year. Playing midfield time. Deceit, A+. Fantastic. Why tease us like this? I don't know. I couldn't even give a grading for that. I'm confused. So, yeah, mate, that's my report card early for the year for Tommy Stewart. Look, mate, not the greatest game ever, but a little disappointing just to see the role that he played because, we thought he could be in the midfield. And that was a really exciting prospect heading into this year.
Yeah, definitely it was shaping up to be a one and done in that defence line for me this season. Yeah, like you said, not a terrible score, but you don't want to have to rely. You want those defenders that are going to run into the middle, and like look at, and you said before, we've got about 15 that we could choose from. So why pick someone who's just going to stay down back? But you never know. Things could change. Injuries do happen, so things could happen. But for now, I'd be shocked if he's in my round 2 squad.
Yeah, absolutely. Cal, we're at the pointy end of the show. It's gone by pretty quick. But before we go, you know what we need to do. It's time for our great debate. And this week, I've picked a topic, and due to your rulings and you being a little bit upset with how they've gone in previous weeks, you're going to choose which side of the field that you're going to play on. So let me give you the topic, and then you can let me know what you want to do, and then we can set up for the great debate, because I think, I've been dominating you early. I need you to get one up on me here.
Because you've been coming to the shows pre-prepared and throwing them on me with 30 seconds.
Pre-prepared. Oh, my goodness. Ladies and gentlemen, if I could show Cal my notes for this section, he would be very, very upset over the past 2 weeks. I can tell you that. He might actually lose sleep over it. But Cal, the subject is who behind Nick Dacos is the best card to own in GameDay Squad. So it's not exactly a for and against, but either with that, saying that he is the best card, or would you like to argue the opposite and say he's not the best card? There are others.
So is Nick Dacos the best fantasy card to own in GameDay Squad?
Correct.
I would like to take the 4. Thank you, please, very much.
You need this one. Well, I'm going to try my best. All right, Cal, let's get set up and then let's get started with the great debate. Alrighty, Cal. The great debate now begins. You're now on the clock.
Right, so this guy is just 21 years old. So let's keep that in mind when I give you two stats. Maybe one's true and one is definitely true. Number one, he's the most sought after card on the GameDay Squad market and the most expensive. Number two, he's probably scored the most points ever to start a career out of any player of all time. Probably true.
Alrighty, Cal. Look, mate. Nick Dacos, he's great, but he's not as good as some of the other players, and he's definitely not the card or the best card in GameDay Squad. First of all, Errol Goulden, my boy. Second of all, Timmy English. English game, you can't tell me you don't want a legend of that guy. And may I just point out, you were going to go buy a Nick Dacos Platinum, but you settled for Tom Green. So is Tom Green the best card to own?
Ooh, so you cut us off after 20 seconds, and you've gone long there. So if you're also the guy that does the editing. So if Tom was able to actually finish his point then, you know he's cheated. If not, I've absolutely wiped the floor with you. You're not telling me if I offered you the Nick Dacos legend or the legend of any other card, you're like, nah, don't want it. Even Tim English, right now today, I give you Tim English legend or Nick Dacos legend, you'd take the Tim English.
Well, of course not. I'm debating the other side. So no. No. Otherwise, what's the point of the debate, mate? This is the thing. You got to believe it. I believe. I don't want Nick Dacos. Get out of here. I want those other cards that I say.
All right, I'll take him. Let's go.
Come on, Cal. Who knows? Someone might pull him one day, and it could be very soon. And it could be me on the live stream.
Could be
please.
Me. Could be you.
If there is something out there, please just let it happen on a live stream. That would be
Could
amazing.
be.
But Cal, mate.
It could be someone who leaves a question below in the chat for the Thursday night live stream. Because I've heard we've been giving them away on a Thursday.
I've heard that the sliders of pack odds do go up every time you, first of all, like this video. Second of all, leave a comment for what you want as the next great debate question. And third of all, which is the ultimate trio and gives you the best boosted odds, is attending the live show, making sure you're there to catch me and Cal's little squad reveal. So make sure you're there 45 minutes before kickoff every Thursday night before the games. But Cal, mate, that's going to wrap us up for another episode of GameDay Squads Aussie Rules Show. This is for round 2. I'm super excited for the season ahead. The season couldn't have started off better for me, but have you got any closing statements or anything you want to let anyone know before we run off and get to building our squads for the live?
Only that I never know when you're going to end these things. So I've already waved everyone goodbye, and here I am 10 seconds to get later still talking. So catch you all. See you next week.
See you, everyone.